Welcome to Seeking the Light of a Thousand Suns podcast. In today's episode, we delve into part 2 of 3 in the fascinating realm of crystal healing series. Whether you're a seasoned crystal enthusiast or a newcomer to this mystical world, join us on a journey toward a deeper understanding of harnessing the power of crystals. Be sure to stay tuned for part 3 as we explore the ritual use and attuning of crystals. Hi, Maya!
Hi, Gia. Ritual use. The power of crystals.
The power of crystals.
Let's talk about the importance of crystal cleaning and like the energetic influences of imbuing crystals and cleaning crystals.
Yes. And actually, we're gonna get to this, but we'll get to it now, I guess. Knowing whether or not the crystal can be cleaned with certain sources or not. So we'll also talk about that.
Right.
So, Maya, what are some good methods for cleaning and charging crystals?
Well, there's so many methods, and like you said, you would want to choose based on, whatever factors apply. Like, I don't know, the amount of time that you have, whether the crystal can be cleansed or done a certain way. Also, like keeping in mind whether or not you want to clean crystals that you have charged or imbued with something. Because if you're giving them an energetic property, you would be removing that during the cleansing
Yes, you would.
process.
You would.
So, knowing whether or not they can be cleansed in the certain methods what we discussed is going to be kind of important too.
It really is. And so some of the different ways that you can cleanse, but again, keep everything that Maya just said in mind here. Sunlight, moonlight, smoke, incense. I like to cleanse mine oftentimes with smoke. It's just actually I imagine myself like, back home or something in Colorado or like just out in the desert, at night with a nice little fire going and then just grabbing those crystals and cleansing it over the smoke when really I've got an incense burning and I'm just putting it over that. But it's that, it's that image and then putting myself into that meditative space, right? That just I feel like it's cleansing it even better when it's still getting cleansed. Yeah.
That's actually a good thing you brought that up because that is a technique, and a lot of witch books would be cleansing and consecrating, and there's a lot of that technique that goes into the cleansing and consecrating your tools. And so consecrating is like, giving it a ritual purpose, or giving it a purpose toward your magical workings versus like charging it for crystal healing or for other things. They're slightly different, but cleansing and consecrating is usually going through the elements first. Using the element of air, fire, water, earth, and then consecrating it with its purpose, which is just slightly different than charging them, but it's very similar.
I actually do like to speak in an earth because I'm such an earth baby. I always love that idea of rub some dirt on it, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just take your stone and stick it in some dirt, rub it around, wipe it around with the dirt, get nice and cleansed.
Bringing it back to its elemental source, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing too, when you mentioned sunlight and moonlight and fire and earth, I mean, think about what type of stone it is.
Mhm.
Like, fire might be a really good one for a lava type stone. Sunlight might be really good for like a sun type stone.
Like
Moonlight might be
citrine.
really good for a moon type stone.
Mhm.
um, Sea salt actually works as well. Like, let's say like when you mentioned dirt, let's say that's not feasible right now. Like, maybe you're just covered in snow. Well, actually, snow could be used too as like the water type thing. But like, if you wanted to use a supplement for dirt or for some of these other techniques, sea salt is also very good.
Cleansing herbs. Yeah,
Hmm.
because herbs will help to cleanse as well.
I would say that my favorite simple, easy, um, not a super time consuming and readily available is the selenite wand.
Mhm.
And so selenite is a natural stone that has many properties, but one of the large properties is that it will clear all energies and then reset. So you can take. Is this showing up? Okay,
Oh,
so
that's shown. It's beautiful.
this is a selenite wand. And what I do, and after I do like a crystal healing, this is when I use it the most. I don't like, if I charge a crystal with something, I don't usually tamper with it. I usually keep it for whatever purpose I instilled in it. But I would take and just rest it on here on the table, go about doing some other things, um, whatever other things I have to do, and come back to it later and just remove it off. I don't have any prescribed time or nothing like that. I just mosey on off and do other stuff and come back to it later. So, um, but I wouldn't recommend selenite for something that you have given a purpose that you don't want erased.
Yes. For example, like I always keep a hematite around me and my rose quartz. The rose quartz, I can simply take this and I can just, rub it a little bit with some water to cleanse it or just run it under some water. Um, I don't use a fast stream of water because I don't want it to, again, do as the selenite would and, you know, break my charges, what I've got on my stone. It's really just with the intention when I'm running it underwater is I'm just intending just to get any of the gook or the muck or whatever that, has collected
And
off
still
of it.
keeping its
Yes,
purpose. Right.
exactly. And then it's kind of the same with the hematite. Uh, there's another way too, but it's going to take some practice. And it's really just it's using your own ability to cleanse. So sometimes with my hematite, I'll just stick it in the palm of my hand, right? And I'll take my projecting hand, and my intention is to keep its purpose, clean off the crap, smack. And in that moment, I have just visioned all the gunk coming off of it, and it's now nice, clean. It's even, nicely warm to the touch. It's charged. It's got its purpose. It's ready to go again.
I'm glad that you bring that up because one of the techniques that I learned in a training circle too would work on stones as well as any other type of object, similar to what you're saying, is holding the object and imagining it in your mind and then using something to just scrape, like you're going to chip off paint or something like that. Like,
Yes.
but you're chipping off
Yuck.
only the
The
yuck
buildup.
that's collected so
Yes.
that the sole purpose now has the full energy
Yep,
that it needs to continue giving the best results.
exactly. You could even use the stone's own power depending upon the stone, right? Um, because like hematite is such a strong protective stone and it forces off negativity, right? You could even talk to or focus your intention to connect to the hematite and ask it to expel any of those layers of buildup off of it too. But again, these are, these it's the technique that works for you. So you have to find what works best for you and that is appropriate for the stone you're working with. And then going into what's right for you. Um, how do you choose the right crystal for your needs and intentions?
Oh boy. Okay, so like I had said, most of the things that like I personally use them for are like healing type things. So I might pick based on like color or based on um a chakra that it would be working with, or um based on whether it's projective or receptive, or depending on the intention. Um, Sometimes, like if you do enough, it's so bizarre, but if you do enough work with crystals and books and crystal healing, you'll actually start to associate with ailments and needs. Um, it will kind of almost come to you intuitively. I don't know how else to
Mm.
explain that.
Oh, I love many earth tools, I guess, resources. I am really big into my herbs, and it is similar in that. Um, and when you do have that intuition, even when you don't, and you might want to pay attention. So if you're going into a store, for example, to purchase stones, and even if it's your first time going in, and you're doing what we had described in the previous episode, which is bringing your hand over and feeling if you get any little tingles going on, right? um
Or any type of sensation actually that's not
yes, little shock.
typical to
Yeah.
what you started with. Right.
Yes. um or you go and you pick up a stone, it just draws to you for some reason, right? You go and pick it up, you picking up a rock outside in the ground, right? Which I love to do. I've actually got just boxes of rocks, which is crazy, but I do. And you're feeling this thing and you're like, oh, I really like the texture of this, right?
Right.
And then you find yourself like, this is what I found myself doing before, even when it comes to, like, for instance, sometimes I need something a little bit pointier, a little bit prickly, right? Because
Mhm.
I need that to be, I feel like that prickliness of that stone when I'm rolling it into my hands, right? I'm feeling like I'm getting more of the stone's properties. And what I've found out, through experience, is when I do that, it's because I need those properties of that stone.
Right.
I need to have a little bit prickliness in my life, or I need to have, and maybe I need to have something smoother at that time. And I need that sense of comfort. And I'm rubbing this hematite, which is super smooth, right? And that comfort actually is because ultimately I need protection, and that's what the stone offers me. And if you relate that to these stones, you're going to find your ability to tune into them becomes better and better.
Well, I like how you bring up the shape too, because there are certain instances where the shape can be quite important.
Yes.
Like you're talking about being drawn to what you need. Well, if you're wanting to do trigger point um, stuff, or if you're wanting to do like pressure point stuff, or
Yes.
if you want to direct an energy, like I love putting crystals on the end of my wands and I want them to have a
Yes.
point on them so that when I'm directing energy, it is precise from the point. And does it have to be done that way? Oh no. I know people
Mhm.
that have round stones on the top of their, or different like shapes on the top of it. It depends on what you're using it for and what you want. Like a round shape might
Absolutely.
be like, bling, it might be a more gentle, you know, taking,
Yes.
spreading, I don't know, but
Well-roundedness. Yes.
right, right. But I also like that you brought it up because um, it's also something that is going to be um, ideal picking by shapes and stuff when you're talking about using crystal grids.
Yes.
So, like, if you're wanting to create a powerful crystal grid, and this can be not just for healing, but it can be also used for manifestation, intention settings, and in spell work and such as well. But let me grab. Okay, so crystal grids, they are made of geometrical shapes usually. You can find a whole bunch of templates online. There's no real rule
Sacred
to the type.
geometry.
Yeah, there's not really a big rule. And you'll see because I put on our Facebook group, I put on a bunch of just paper templates. You can print them off and use them. But you'll see that they are geometric shapes, but there's no hard fast rule.
Mhm.
Um, But so one that I typically go to, and I'll kind of explain briefly why, just because of the time that we have. But I I will typically do this is the flower of life.
Mm.
The reason why I choose this type of layout is because you put. Can I keep this here? You put your
Yeah.
center stone here. So the center stone is going to be what's called the generator. And then you would put the other stones along the outside based on how you want them to work, what their properties are, whatever their assignments are. But a lot of the times, um, using points, whether they're double-ended points or single-ended points, are really key in something like this. And the reason why I choose this shape is because you see, no matter where you place things, they're all interconnected, kind of like life, like everything is interconnected.
I like
So
that.
if I put a generator here, I wanted to manifest money and I wanted to say, okay, so let's think about this like the zodiac, maybe. I don't That's the best example I'd come off the cuff with. This would be my financials within the home. This would be like my financials within work. This would be like my business financials or whatever. Like how many areas do you need prosperity, financial abundance, or like help within? Um, and then they kind of like work with each other, okay, and separately to the main goal, and
Mhm.
they're going to be powered off the generator. And the purpose of having points would be I want the generator to point it to, right? If I use point
Mhm.
stones, I'm giving specific direction with the points. Um, Now, would I use a double-ended point or a single-ended point? That depends, because sometimes you have to feed one thing. y- How do I put this? It has to be sometimes in order to manifest something. You feed it, it feeds you. It's kind of like a what am I trying to say?
It's a symbiotic relationship.
There you go. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
so I'm sorry, and my brain just kind of stops. I panic and it stops. Um,
I will always be that student paying attention, teacher.
so, so for example, I had a really good friend that someone within their family had a stroke, and I created a crystal grid because the fear was how many things now were going to be affected as a post stroke,
Yeah.
um, like as far as eyes, as far as brain, as far as like is there going to be more, like all of these scary
Yes.
concerns. And so I mean, I put a name on there. I did this on paper because I was doing drawings and things like that. But then I had a generator and I had all these things like in protection. So there's a lot of different ways that they can be used. You kind of have to. They can be used for manifestation. They can be used for emotional well-being. They can be used for healing. They can be used for spell workings, like whether you want to cast something out or whether you want to bring something in.
Mhm.
Um, so crystal grids are very powerful. But remember, we talked in the last episode about how their energy is gentle and
Mhm.
sometimes can take time
Yes.
to
To brew.
brew, to show results. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
So like let's say you decide, oh, I'm going to use myself as an example. If you have high stress, anxiety, you're mentally or emotionally unbalanced, whether you're healing from past traumas or if you have things that
Mhm.
are in the household or at work or whatever, you can create emotional well-being type of grid where the generator, you can put your name, how you want it to come to you, and use the stones that are stress relief, anxiety relief,
Mhm.
giving yourself love, giving yourself compassion, giving yourself grace, and have that out. And over time, you will notice how it's working for you, depending on how things transpire.
Yes. Well, it's important. Like I think that I mean, you're mapping. You're what you're doing is you're mapping, and those generator and each one of those points where the stones are, those are coordinates,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that generator is bringing down that energy that you have intended, and it's directing it to all those coordinates and charging those coordinates.
With the purpose of what the stone is either charged for or what it naturally,
Yes,
energetically resonates with.
exactly.
So it doesn't have to be super difficult.
Mm-mm.
I've seen some amazing crystal grids where I go. At first, I was so interested because I love my crystals, but at first I was like, that looks so complicated. Like I don't know that I could, because I mean, I would see people on YouTube and things like that. Some of their grids had like 6 or 7 of the same stone, at like, for example,
Mm.
uh, clear quartz crystal generators and stuff like that. Well, that's great. Like, yeah, that would add some huge oomph. But now I'm thinking
Right.
to myself, like, as reasons not to do it because I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, do I need to have like 6 crystals of one kind, and do I need to have 30 stones on a grid?" And oh my gosh, like it started to become overwhelming and a deterrent, and everybody's craft is their own and
It's all
different,
different.
and
It
it can
really
be whatever you
is.
want it to be.
I incorporate like for instance into financial prosperity crystal grid. I love malachite. I love malachite. Like I just love malachite in general.
It feel
Um,
good, yeah.
oh, it feels good. It's malachite, lapis lazuli, desert rose. These are things that I just love in general. And malachite is such an incredibly strong stone for financial working. Um, so I like to incorporate a couple malachite stones onto mine because I feel like in the houses that I'm mapping them in, like you said, if I was looking at it as like a zodiac chart, right? In those houses, I want to have that extra oomph of energy of the malachite, and I want that malachite to really be able to focus solely on that house that I put it in. And so then I'll spread out a couple to a few malachite stones. Love using garnet
Oh,
on
yeah.
financial crystal grids. And so I'll do the same, but I actually, because garnet is well, it's expensive if you're trying to get the real deal, right? So the ones
Right.
that you get are typically really small, and that's okay. So I'll take a couple, 2 to 3 or whatever, of garnet, and I'll put them in their own houses. And then the desert rose just always calls to me, and it's something that the energies that stone resonates with are actually energies very similar to what I resonate with in one of
So
my selves.
so you can even use that as on the grid as a
Mhm.
representation of yourself.
Yes. Yes. Including its properties too. So yes. And then, I've got and then I actually do like to put a clear quartz on there. Not as my generator, but the intention that I give the clear quartz is to keep rotating that energy. So it's not actually sitting in a specific house, it's sitting in, I guess, a vacant house, right? But that vacant house that I designated for is one where it can just keep funneling and cycling energy. And although there's this energy coming down to the generator, I like to have that funneler just to keep the flow going, right? And then I also like to have a hematite on there so that any of the energy that comes through that might collect some bad juju or whatever from what blocks, let's say, or things like that
Okay.
in my life that might be trying to block me from getting the prosperity of what my intentions are, it can funnel right to that hematite, and it can crush the negative energy as it does. And that way, I've got a clear flow of positive energy going on the grid. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up clear quartz because I don't know if in the last episode if we touched on this or not, but clear quartz is always a good substitute stone if you don't have a specific stone that you're looking for because
Yes.
um, you can attune it to anything. But also, crystal quartz is clear crystal quartz is also known for being an energetic amplifier to anything you're doing.
Yes.
So if you wanted something to be with an extra oomph, you can add that along to what you're doing and it'll give it that extra oomph.
Sure will. It's similar to when you're, working doing chakra work. Sometimes I just grab a clear quartz for a chakra. again, like you're saying, because it can be substituted. And maybe I don't know, maybe there's something I'm just really stuck with on that chakra. And I'm like, I just don't know what you need right now. So I'm going to allow this clear quartz to guide me. And it's going to help choose the positive attribute that's needed for that my chakra needs at this point. And then I'll put the clear quartz on that chakra. Um, so it's a really great all purpose stone to use.
So if you don't own any stones at this point, and this is something, that you want to get involved with, experiment with, and you want to do either rituals or healing or anything, a good starter point would be to, at minimum, have a clear quartz
Yes.
because it can be used in any spell on any chakra with any, intent it can be imbued with. I mean, heck, even, a couple, maybe one round, 1 point or whatever. They're not expensive stones.
No.
They're in, um, they're pretty much found in any shop. Any metaphysical shop you go into is going to have clear quartz. It's
Oh,
readily available. It would be a really good start, especially if you don't know where to start.
so then also, some other uses for stonework, um, sachets or medicine bags. I actually utilize both. I have medicine bags that I've created for others, myself, and actually for my home. Um,
So,
I've
can you define medicine bag just a little bit for our listeners? Like, what does that look like? What does it
well,
entail?
you
What's
know, there's there's the Native American. It really goes back to the roots of the Native American culture. Now, the thing of it is there's actually been a lot of ancient cultures too on this planet who have utilized what's equivalent to like Native American medicine bag. And really what it is you're looking for, it's typically a bag made of leather or cloth, okay, that can be worn or hung. Um, I personally like to use leather. It's a strong material, but it's also very porous. And essentially, what you're doing is you're putting into this bag medicine, and that medicine are charged stones. You can use charged herbs. You can use drops of essential oils. You can use, bone twigs, things you find in nature.
what do
Um,
you put your drops of essential oils in? Do you use a cotton ball or do you have something that so it doesn't absorb completely into the?
I actually do absorb it right into my medicine bag.
Okay.
And I do it as actually the drops I put in last because I want it to soak into the herbs and I want it to soak in onto the stones and I want each one of those beautiful pieces of nature and all their great properties to all blend together to make this one pill that is going to provide the healing that I intend. Okay. So the selection is important. You have to make sure you can get as in depth as you want to with this too, or you can be as basic as you want to with it. Um,
So
Using a clear quartz. Oh, go ahead.
do you do a new bag every time you have something new or do you repurpose the bag? What do you do with the contents? Like,
So it depends. If it's one that it depends upon the intention I have for the bag. So the essential oil ones, those typically are ones that I have long-term intentions for. And really, those medicine bags, they don't go bad. They don't expire. They don't, and when I say expiration or bad, I mean that the intention and the power of them do not dissipate over time. Thereby, their magic does not expire. The ones that I imbue with essential oils are long term. That's how I do it. Now, everybody can be different, right? And really, if you're generally using similar essential oils each time, and you've got a base essential oil similar to like clear quartz, right? That has very lovely properties that are comforting and soothing, such as lavender, right? Because who doesn't need a little lavender in their life? I mean, and I mean it too. Like every type of healing you can imagine, lavender will help. And so even if you're doing a protection spell, lavender will help. So really, if you're going to put a few drops of lavender into a medicine bag, you could repurpose that bag. You can cleanse it through smoke. Obviously, don't set it on fire. Um, Probably not the best idea to run it through water. Smoke is one of the best ways to cleanse a medicine bag. Um, then, it's not like it's going to ruin the lavender essential oil drops that have, they'll keep. Now, if it's something where, you've got to use like mugwort essential oil, um, probably save that for something that's going to be of long-term use. So, when we get to the essential oils, we'll kind of go over which ones you can do these with and which ones, are long-term, short-term, whatever. Then the stones or the twigs or whatever I've gathered into the medicine bag, um, the stones can be repurposed. They can be cleansed and repurposed. When it comes to twigs and leaves and um, hair and cloth threads and rope threads, dirt, sand, things like that, I do not repurpose those. Instead, I will take those, and if it's something that I can bury, I bury. If it's something that I could set on fire, I set it on fire and burn it off. And the reason is because it, now this isn't going to be the same for everybody, but for me, those things are closely tied to something very personal to the person it's intended for or the home it's intended for. And I don't want anybody else to get a hold of those things and have any potential of doing anything ill will. Okay. They're very powerful. A strand of hair is incredibly powerful. Um, Paint shaving, let's say, or a little chip of wood or a little piece of rock that broke off the foundation. These are powerful things that for me is a protection method. I don't want anybody else getting their hands on them. Okay. I want to burn off any remnants of their connection to that person or that object. Or I want to bury it deep enough to where the earth can take care of it as needed. So, yes, some can be repurposed, some cannot. Some of the contents, I would say the contents, the bags themselves, they can be repurposed. It also depends too, and to please take this in consideration. I have long hair, right? And when I wear a medicine bag, sometimes my hair strands will tangle. Am I going to reuse that medicine bag for someone else? Absolutely not. No way. I'm just going to keep reusing it for myself. When it comes to medicine bag usage and sachets, because I do magical sachets and a medicine bag for my home. All right. The medicine bag contains everything there and kind of like a crystal grid in a way, right? And then you put a sachet with purpose and with the associations of each direction, okay, into that sachet. And you put it and you hang it where that direction is hits in your home. Okay. And think of it like this: when you got a sachet in your north corner of your home, east, south, west, right? And you got the medicine bag, you find your center. It doesn't have to be exact, but you find your center and you hang it, right? Or you tuck it in somewhere. It's going to essentially create that grid, very similar to a crystal grid, that'll keep those energies you need coming in or staying away from your home.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me of when you were saying that, and I'm sorry,
No, it's
um,
okay.
but hiding things in plain sight. Oh my gosh, I
Yes.
cannot tell you how important that is, because if you don't have people questioning things and they don't
Mhm.
have them affecting your spell working, if you are a closet witch, like I'm more so closet than not, um,
Yeah,
hiding things in plain sight. So let's talk about that a little bit. You said, or
absolutely.
tuck it up somewhere. Well, I have done for people and for myself multiple in-home things for
Mhm.
protection. And what I would do with the protection stones and the little rune or binding rune designs or anything else is I would put them up above the windowsill on that, like the
Yes.
framing ledge,
Mhm.
or I would hide them behind picture frames, like
Mhm.
if it was like a binding rune or something like that. On top of patio doors. So I gotta laugh because I wonder how many people I've helped that have moved. And
Ex
people have found like random crystals on the top of their windowsills or something. But let me just tell you, that is so powerful because
Yes,
my own personal experience as a family member was in grave danger. And I'm telling you, the amount of things that went into the spell working were there were many, 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 many layers. But hiding things in plain sight cannot cannot express how big of a fan I am of that.
absolutely. You could even take it a step further. Um, and when you learn how to do this, it's I do it often, often. I'll even do it sometimes when I just need some time to myself, and I'm sitting somewhere or something right out in public and I just want people to leave me alone. A cloak of invisibility. Cloak
Yes.
of invisibility. And so each one of my sachets, my points, and my medicine bag they all have a cloak of invisibility over them. And unless you have a keen magical eye, you're not going to see it.
Right. It's like Star
And
Wars. There's
yeah,
nothing to see here.
there's nothing to
There's
see.
nothing to see.
That's exactly it. It's just, you know, and I too forget it's there. And that's the best way to go because it's doing its
Mhm.
work. I don't need to think about it again. It's doing its work.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I do the cloak of invisibility sometimes on myself because I'm just like, I have those days where I'm like, I just need everybody to leave me the hell alone, right? And Harry Potter style, I'll put that cloak right over myself, over my car even, and then I'm just like, I'm just gonna chill,
Oh, girl.
right?
I've done it on my car, and it was the scariest thing I've ever
Oh,
done.
well, yeah, be careful where you do it in your car.
Yeah. Scariest thing. Uh, I don't remember my reasoning behind doing it on my car. I can't remember the reasoning behind it, but oh, terrifying. So many people tried to merge into my lane onto me
Mm.
directly, side by side. I was
Mm.
cut off, I was cut in front of, like, there were so many. I do not recommend
Oh,
it
don't ever okay, so yes, I mean, I'm gonna retract and say don't ever do a cloak of invisibility on your car or your
while you're driving.
right.
Yes. I mean,
Or maybe just
different.
don't do it on your car at all, because then if you forget about it, you're kinda screwed. But here's one that, God, I hope people don't think I'm evil for this, but if you do, well, it is what it is. So, I use a different type of cloak sometimes over my car, which is kinda like the "Don't F with me, it'll make you shit yourself" cloak. Because I can't tell you how many tail kissers there are
Oh my
in the
god.
state of Minnesota, but people I'm sorry, people, but you need to stop hugging my ass. Like, that drives me insane. And so then I'll just throw that cloak straight over, and the way I've got the magic put into it is to make my car look terrifying. Like, "Oh, I ain't going near that shit. No
Oh, I
way."
misinterpreted. I thought it was if they got too close, they would shit their
No,
pants or something.
no, I wouldn't be I would although that would be
Like,
funny, it would really go against the
you see
power of
cars
3 rule.
swerving off the road because
Right, I
I
don't
just
need to
shit
go and
myself.
and shit myself 3
Oh my
times over for the
gosh.
karma on that. No, but it's more just, no, like, yeah, no, holy crap, that car looks terrifying and I'm gonna stay away from it. And then I can just truck along the way I want to and, be left alone, but it's very interesting, and I do actually sometimes I will put, like, a sachet in my car too. Um, I have several layers of protection, though, that I keep around my car, so
I
she's my
wonder.
horse.
I wonder how many non-magical people out there put on a cloak of invisibility all the time and don't even realize they're doing it. Like, if you're
Yes.
going somewhere and you don't wanna be seen and they're just like, "Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me, I just wanna squeak by, just don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me." How many times they're, like, walking out,
Yes.
like,
Yep.
and don't even realize. I mean, it doesn't have to be a cloak, it just has to
Mhm.
be a mindset, and, for a lot of people, a
That's what it
cloak
is.
sets that mindset because
Mhm.
you're putting a visual action to it. Well, I'm not visual, and so just thinking, you know, any way that I want to really
Yeah.
will put that action into place. But so sometimes it is that just don't look at me, just don't look at me, just don't look at me, just don't look at
Right.
me.
"Don't call my name, please, teacher." Like, in the
Right,
classroom or at
right. So
work.
can you
Oh
imagine
god,
how many
the
people
boss didn't
have
see
the
me
power
today.
to do this and don't have a magical mindset? So they
That was
don't
a lot
even
of people.
realize.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They're doing it all the time. They're doing it all the time. And yes, they don't realize it. There's a lot that's actually done all the time, but that's another discussion.
And that's because words have power,
They
and
really do.
we're gonna have a whole probably a whole cast on words of power and oaths and that kind of stuff too.
Exactly. The last thing that we should mention, because we've talked so much about different types of grids, right?
Mhm.
Um, is the medicine wheel. So, Maya, I will let you talk more about that too. I know that, we had talked previously together between ourselves about this because, we're talking about the crystal healing grid, right? We're talking about chakras, and then, it goes into the whole life size healing grid that you can do for your body too, or on someone else's body.
Oh my goodness, I really don't know anything at all about medicine. I mean, I know very little about medicine wheels. I know that those are also, other cultures that use them. Um, if I was going to use something that I might equate in my mind similar to that, would almost be like a crystal grid with
Yes.
chalk or rose petal, like something on the some type of crystal grid design on the ground and being able to lay up on it. You can put
Yes.
stones outside of yourself, or you can put them on yourself, or you can
Do both. Yeah.
absorb like this healing energy in the life size. But
Mm.
I know that there's so much about medicine wheels that I don't know, that I don't really want to make any incorrect statements. But I imagine them being something that someone lays upon for a healing. And so my version of that would be like doing a I would never do a flower of life like I did on the crystal grid because I do not have that artistic talent.
Well, and that's
But
if you do those intricate detailing, right? Because it can be almost as simple as, you know, if you take, for instance, the house grid, right, with the sachets and the medicine bag. All right. So you know that where where an ailment is, right, on your body. Let's say you're having a stomach bug. You can make a medicine bag for that stomach bug. And then you can make directional, just like, if you want to use the four corners, you can, right? Sachets for each one of those corners, but incorporate other healing aspects like, okay, I know that I've got a stomach bug right here now, but it's my whole immune system that's down. So I'm going to need a little extra energy from the four corners to help heal the immune system. I'm going to need maybe some extra energy after this. I'm going to need my whole digestive system to be able to respond in a more healthy fashion, right? I'm going to need a more positive mindset because I'm feeling really low right now. And then you can place out those sachets around where you would lay on the ground, in put them in the corner directions where they need to go, north, south, east, west, right? And then you find a place to lay in that center. Now that you've got that square box up, or rectangle or whatever, you lay down and you put that medicine bag on your stomach and you lay there until you feel like you've absorbed enough of what you need. It's kind of how I imagine it. I don't know specifically, like you even said too, enough about actual medicine wheels to
well, my brain
speak
is
on.
spinning right now because if it was going to be me, I would use salt or chalk or something like that. And I would just
Yes.
do a circle with a cross, an equal arm cross in the center.
Yeah.
And then I would align myself so that the center of the cross goes through my center.
Okay.
So I would have it, going through the center of me and the center of my middle. And I would lay, because when I think about,
You put a generator on that center.
when I think about sacred geometry, right?
Yes.
The equal arm cross would represent the four quarters. The circle would represent the unification of all of them, or like
Okay.
even a witch's circle. You think about, everything being protected within an energetic space. But then grounding and centering is also a visual representation in that as well. And um, I mean, you can also even do like, if you really wanted to do the pentacle with it, you could line up in the
Ooh.
center, like I talked about, and you can put your arms out like this, and then you can spread your legs open and you could make your body into a star. I mean, there's so many different witchy things you can do with that. But I would make mine multi-purpose if I was going to do a medicine wheel, and I would accept whatever healing the wheel has to offer me. And I would surround myself with probably clear quartzes and just
Ooh,
ask the
okay.
universe to give me what I need.
So I would love to hear anybody's thoughts on this. I mean, we've got the Facebook page. Please comment. Let us know if you've tried anything like a medicine wheel or any kind of life-size healing grid. let us know some of your ideas and thoughts on it.
Yeah, somebody teach us about the
Right.
medicine wheel. Um, the Facebook group will have some crystal grids and some crystal files. I've also put like a crystal worksheet in there, I believe, so that you could do your own daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever for your book of shadows or for yourself for learning things. It's a way that a lot of people learn about. It's laid out kind of like the daily tarot type thing, where you can use it, and it's evergreen. You can use it for any stone, anytime. Um, so I'm trying to keep up with that the best that I can. I know that some of these podcasts get dropped before the actual materials show up, but please be patient. We work full-time jobs and stuff as well. So
Mhm.
I'm honoring my promises, but they may be slightly before or behind, a published podcast. And then on episode 3, we will talk about crystals and ritual and meditation with chakras, and some other rare or unique type uses for them as well. So please be sure to join us for episode 3 on the healing crystals. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. And don't forget that the extras will be published in our private Facebook group. So if you join Seeking the Light of a Thousand Suns on Facebook, I will drop you an invite to the Facebook page. And whether you decide to accept the invitation or decline is completely up to you. But we would love to hear from our followers.
Thank you so much for listening to us and
Thank you
being
for
a part of
listening.
this. Tell us your feedback. Give us some ideas of what you've experienced. We can all share together in this wonderful magical world.
Thank you for joining us, and blessed be.
Have a good night, day, morning.